we begin today's session. The council chamber building itself is an assortment of ancient elven towers with slender and intricate designs spreading around the stonework like it was nature reclaiming the area. They surround a dome-like structure with the tallest tower perched on top of it. The interior is often a blinding white mixed with an aura of calming blue, very similar in design and architecture to the royal palace. The corridors and stairwells are spiral in nature, and a soft hymn can be heard always somewhere nearby, but no matter where you walk, you never seem to get closer or further from the source. The chambers where the council meets is situated at the top of the tower atop the dome. Whilst the walls speak of elven heritage, the interior has more windward design about it. A large circular room with rows of benches where the robed and decorated councillors meet. Whereas in Brine, where you have had dealings with the council in Brine represented the people with the largest amount of land, or produced a vast amount of food, or just had a great deal of prestige. In the example of Verity's stepfather, Torrin. This council is made up of representatives of the oldest families. A few of them are full elves, albeit a bit younger. Not as many half-elves as you were expecting, but the vast majority clearly have some elven blood in them from several generations ago. A fact they present openly with their clothes and ornaments in a statement more than a boast. The centre is an open floor where those who speak can address the entire chamber. An impartial judge stands to the side of this floor, ensuring the rules and traditions of debate are adhered to. He is a taciturn, black-haired elf with hawk-like eyes. Now, standing close to the centre are three lords in a more authoritative position in terms of where the rows and the benches are, because they're sitting down, but like kind of like where the circular is, they're kind of like jettison out a little bit, like a wedge in the circle, shall we say? Now, it's clearly a position where they hold the most sway amongst the councillors. Now, you know them as Viseru, Telesan. Now, you standing on the very edges of the room behind all the rows where the attendants and guards stand at the ready is where you all and Suwam stand. They are just getting ready to begin the meeting, and you all have a moment before it gets started. What would you like to do?
Right, just as a reminder, can we not insult the people that we're asking for help from? Just putting it out there. They've got their own interests to look after, but we shouldn't go calling them, cowards and traitors to the nation, etc., etc. It probably won't do much for our case.
Maybe if they don't want to be called cowards and traitors to the nation, then they shouldn't be cowardly and betray their nation. I'm just saying,
Just don't say it.
Rennas, I'm not suggesting you are, but as it stands right now, you are currently the traitor to the nation.
No, I'm the traitor to the crown. The nation is the people of which the crown is supposed to lead and govern. The crown is not leading and governing. The crown is betraying them.
And some people would consider the crown to be the nation. I know differently, of course, and it is our mission here to convince people that that line must be drawn. He is leading our country to despair and chaos. We need to stop that from happening.
I assure you I will be tactful, regardless of my actual opinions.
I have utmost faith in you.
Look to the person next to me and be like, if I start getting a bit too bitchy, Russ, can you just put a hand on my shoulder or on my back? And yeah, I'll try and be good. I'll try, and that's the best I can do.
You've all done this before. You'll be fine.
Not to people like this.
The last time we came before someone to address, a high public figure, we were kidnapped, stripped, locked in a cell, and tortured. So, hoping it doesn't quite go the same way.
And the last time we tried to talk to an entire council, we know how that happened. That ended. So, yeah.
Well, things will be different this time. I promise you.
That is good.
Suam, can we use magic here?
It is accepted. I wouldn't say it's looked down upon, but it's more of a case of, oh, look what they need, sort of thing.
So if I were to make myself seem a little bit warmer and, more approachable.
I would say that some of the more experienced members of the council would see that you are attempting to make yourself seem that way.
Gotcha. Might backfire. Splendid. Thank you.
Depends on your point of view, I suppose.
Well, last thing I want to do is jeopardize, so I shan't. Suppose when you've got magic everywhere.
Indeed. Just remember, my personal opinion, your secret weapons are Russ and Verity. They have the most will behind their words.
What?
Say.
Oh, are we going to be needing to make persuasion rolls?
No, you're not making rolls.
Oh, good.
This is just his
Literally-
insight to all of you guys.
Gotcha.
As Suam says that, like, Verity just, like, has her finger up her nose and just turns around and is like, what?
I have utmost faith in you that despite your lack of life experience, you have more than enough experience to know what you're talking about. If such a thing can exist.
If such a thing could exist, Verity.
Yes. Don't worry. I've spoken to you all quite often in the time that you have arrived. I've got a very good measure of who you all are. And if I didn't think you were capable of doing this, then I would not have wasted my time going through all the dance of the politics here. You can do this. I believe in you.
Can I ask, what were your expectations of me going into this?
Russ, whether you like it or not, destiny is sweeping you up, and you're doing everything you can to keep ahead of it. You know right from
Okay.
wrong. You've seen the enemy from within. You've seen how they treat their own. Speak to your experiences, speak to your heart, and you will know what to say. Otti, are you okay?
Yeah, I normally have Bella to do big talky things to help me, but I'll be alright.
I know. Maybe next time. But today, you must speak well enough for the both of you, and I have no doubt that you are able to do so.
Well, I'm glad someone's got confidence in me, because I don't.
We've all got confidence in you.
At this point, there is a clearing of a throat, and people begin to take their seats. You see the elven speaker addressed towards Suwon and calls him forward. Suwon takes a deep sigh, looks at you all, gives you all a nod. He walks forward. As he enters the center of the room, the speaker recognizes his presence, and the entire chamber goes quiet. Here stands Grandmaster Suwon Pati of the August Monastery, here to take to the floor to speak to of a matter of great urgency. The floor is yours, Grandmaster. We shall sit and we shall listen. Suwan gives a low bow, to which the speaker bows backwards and then retreats as Suwan takes the centre. And he looks around the crowd, who are all waiting with anticipated breath as he begins to address the crowd. Lords and ladies of Meltokian, long has this city been a cultural monument, and long has the august monastery helped shield our history together. I am dedicated to the monastery, to my students, and to our way of life. This city honors me for my role me and the monks played in the War of Argonef. I have never participated in the council for one simple reason: peace. I am a warrior. I see danger and I protect. I advise and I stop the threat. I believe these traits are best suited for war, not for peace. It is that same reason I stand here today. War, not peace. The testimonies of the people I will soon introduce will explain in further detail, but I officially announce today that the august monks will begin preparing for war. To defeat the very same enemy who threatened us before, but now hides behind a different face. King Turiel, his ministers, and the Order of Knights have become corrupted by the mad demon lord. They seek to bring chaos and destruction to this world. The august monks are unequivocally opposed to this, and join a growing force of factions united in their desire to stop this chaos from spreading. To depose King Turiel, who sacrifices his own subjects to summon demons, who burns his own villages in his ambition to revive the mad demon, who had just recently had to battle his own revolting citizens in the streets of the capital. We are in dark days. So I, Suwan Pati, have come with witnesses and heroes to request aid and unity in revolution against the king. We seek the united forces of the Meltokian lands to join us in our struggle against the king. To help persuade you of our cause, may I introduce the heroes who have stopped King Turiel from realizing his mad ambitions so far. They are known by some names: the Unforgotten, Team Numpty, the Guardians of Jarus Jukai, the Half-Elf of Action, whose precision with blade and bow are unmatched, the Taunter of Fate, Rennas. And he gestures towards you, Rennas.
I stand up and bow quite deeply towards the lords. But I'm assuming he's going to move down the list.
Yeah, and well, a lot of the lords they recognise you and they respect the bow that you've done with nods of approval. The Halfling of Bravery, who's slain demon and dragon alike, the Relentless Huntress, Arrabella.
I step forward as well and I follow Rennas. It's a man's bow, but it's a bow.
They return that bow, and they respect that. The Dwarf of Faith, whose righteousness has destroyed creatures of pure evil and chaos. The Voice of Moradin, Korgrin.
I walk forward confidently, give a little kind of holy symbol through the air, bow very deeply, return to my seat.
The Half-Elf of War, whose will to do the greater good led him to leave the only life he knew to save the lives of everyone else. The Soul and Sword, Russ.
And like everyone else, I'll kind of more shakily move forward, kind of put my hand on my chest and bow deeply,
And that bow is
looking quite
reciprocated by Cal.
intimidated.
The human of power, whose very will compels the most stubborn minds to relent and concede. The weave breaker, Verity.
I do the curtsying that I'm sure my aunt has taught me to do 1,000 times over. Trying to show off the nobility background.
And it shows. It really shows, and you get a much more receptive response from the councillors, especially Lord Viseru, who smiles quite warmly in your direction, actually.
Lady Viseru or one of the lords?
Lady Viseru smiles quite warmly towards her. The Half-Orc of law, who had the courage to lay down her armour of an unjust way to seek a better path. The paragon of justice, Otti.
And I step forward and bow deeply and stand back up.
And they bow to you as well. I shall let them speak of their tales to you. Heed their words, their experiences, and their knowledge. They have much to tell, and much more to do. They speak with my backing. They speak with my honesty. Their words are my words, treated as such. Suam bows respectfully and steps aside to give the floor to you all. And there is a huge murmur of whispers erupting in the chamber, silenced by the speaker. The floor recognizes the group recommended by Grandmaster Suam Pati. Lords Talasan and Camber, along Lady Viseru, will speak on behalf of Meltokia for the duration of their statements. A speaker may speak to any lord or all of them. Please state who you address before you begin. The speaker bows before the three lords, towards the rest of you, and steps back.
I'll stand up and just...
The floor recognizes Korgrin, the voice of Moradin.
I'll give a kind of half bow. Thank you very much, Lord Speaker. I would like to address all present. I would just like to advise that if you do have any questions throughout any of the statements given, please feel free to ask throughout. If there is anything you wish for further explanation upon, please do not hesitate to address those concerns rather than let them fester.
Lord Talasan clears his throat as a means to talk. The floor is yours. It is your choice whether or not you wish to give the floor over to Lord Talasan.
Lord Talasan, if you wish to raise something, please be my guest.
He stands up. Many thanks, voice of Moradin. I think I speak for the entire council when I say that when we entered this chamber today, we were not expecting such a heavy statement. This is an incredibly enormous thing to decide of this council, to ask of us. I would only ask you that you be honest and forthright in telling us why we should join you in your struggle, in your rebellion against the crown. Why should we sacrifice our lives, our people, for your war? What evidence do you have to bring of King Turiel's allegations? What evidence do you have to speak of your own integrity beyond Grandmaster Suampati's words. I wish to hear from all of you a statement detailing why we should join you in your struggle, who you are. I concede the floor back to the voice of Moradin. He steps back down.
Thank you very much, Lord Taliesin. I appreciate your candidness, and I appreciate we have put a heavy burden upon all those present. This is no light decision that we ask you to make. However, be that as it may, it is a decision we ask you to make regardless. As you have said, we are indeed asking you to lay down the lives of the citizens of Meltokio, and as Grandmaster Suampati has already stated, the lives of his monks from the August Monastery. This we do not do easily, but to answer your question of why we do this, it is simple. For life. There is no turning back from this. While the mad demon lord Agoneth is not on this plane, his presence, his influence, and his reach are most certainly felt through King Turiel Windward. Yours will not be the only peoples we ask to lay down your lives in protecting the realm. During our time within the capital, I did indeed have the pleasure of speaking with Ambassador Lungdon of the Dwarves, for it came to light during our travels that the Knights of the Order did indeed lay siege to the Dwarven capital of Fili-Durzan. It was there that they employed their knightly forces, siege weaponry, as well as, presumably, the demon forces that they have at their disposal, which we have encountered ourselves. They too...
Sorry,
Go on.
it looks as if, from the words you just said, Lord Camber looks scared.
Okay. This was a surprise attack, Lord Camber. I do appreciate that it is not becoming of such an order, but telling you this allows you to prepare. It gives you an idea of the forces that you're dealing with, and unfortunately, the nature by which they will act. They will not act honourably. They will not respect whatever treaties are in place between Windward, Jaras Jakai, and Meltokio. For the dwarves of Fili-Durzan to be struck unawares says that they have no respect for those laws. We do not know why this was done. However, I am acutely aware that prisoners have been taken, and we will see fit to free them. We will act, for we are not simply asking you to lay down your lives, for we are offering our own. We have done battle with these forces before, and as you can see, and I kind of gesture to everyone, we are all still here for it. But please, if you do have some concerns, Lord Camber, I beseech you, please raise them, as this is meant to be open and honest. The floor is yours.
Lord Camber stands up and he adjusts his sort of puffy little sort of neck piece of it. You say that the dwarves were attacked in surprisement unnecessarily. Was there no provocation made? There's no declaration of war ever come from the dwarves. I find it very taxing on the mind to believe that our king, our people, would attack allies for an unknown reason. Please answer me this without having to surrender the floor. What reason did Windward attack Filiderzan?
To put it quite simply, I believe part of the reason was likely to secure sacrifices. As you say, there was no act of hostility from the dwarves upon Windward itself. That was indeed the purpose of the good Ambassador Lungdon and his retinue to find out on his journey to capital of Jarashjakai. It was in our own. It was going to be after our own plight to the king that Ambassador Lungdon was due to speak and question the motives of why Jukayan forces did indeed lay siege to the city. But as I say, I believe the purpose for the siege itself was sacrifices. As we are acutely aware that peoples from the city known as Brine, on the other side of these mountains, have been sent there by a previous mayor, previous political forces. By there, of course, I refer to Vorod, to summon forth demons.
Lady Visera clears her throat as in she wishes to take the floor. Lord Camber does surrender the floor to her at this point. She says, I am very sorry to interrupt. You say Robert Edgecombe was sending his own people as sacrifices.
I'm happy to step forward.
On
Please.
this, I will yield the floor to my companion, Arrabella. Be seated. If you have any questions again, I'll certainly be back. I'll sit back down.
Of course. Well, please step forward. Thank you. Thank you very much. The Relentless Huntress, I believe, is quite a lofty title.
I do appreciate it. Thank you for letting me speak, Lady Visera.
Of course, of course. Before you begin, I want you to know that I am quite familiar with Combe. I am aware that they have recently passed away, but I like to think I would like to have considered him as one of my good friends. And you're telling me that he's willingly gave his people up as sacrifices?
I wouldn't call it willingly. So we are all from, well, most of us are from Oakenheath. Following the attack on our village where it was burnt to the ground, we managed to escape to Brine through an underground pass. Whilst in Brine, a messenger who was going far too fast tripped over my dear friend, Korgrin. And the letters went everywhere. In an attempt to help him pick them up, I picked them up and I caught a glance of one, which was directed to Mayor Edgecombe, telling him that he had to send the undesirables to Vorod. So I don't think it was willing, but I don't think he had a choice.
I see. Robert never struck me as a strong-willed individual, but he did always strike me as a good man. I never suspected this of him. Not that I doubt your words, Relentless Huntress, as you have the backing of our most esteemed Grand Master of the August Monastery, but I would like to ask, what evidence do you have that Well, factual or from your own experiences, beyond
I
this letter, what do you know?
I cannot claim to have known Mayor Edgecombe very well. One evening when I was going to talk to him after I had discovered this letter, as on my approach to his building, I saw him on the balcony with Sir Garrick Dublanc, one we are aware is in charge in Vorod of. I'm not quite sure what they do, but they take innocent people and they possess them. They change them. And I wouldn't be surprised if Garrick's changed himself. Because even from the distance I was, he did not look human.
I see. Troubling news indeed.
Very much so.
And if your words are as honest as you say they are, as Sir Worm says you are, then this is very much troubling news. I believe that this is much for me to consider and ponder. I would like to pass the floor back to Lord Talisan, whilst I think on these matters.
Lady Sarah, I'll stand back.
Step down. Lord Talisan stands up and says, I would like to recall forth
The what? Sorry, you cut out.
I would like to call back forth the voice of Moradin to finish his statement.
Bow and stand back up again. Alright, stand back up again, then bow. Please remind me, what was the last thing what I'd said? Because I was wrapped up in what Arri was saying then. About them being sacrificed in Vorod, yes?
I believe that was the case, yes.
Personally, I am aware that prisoners are being held. As you are aware, being the voice of Moradin, I am a cleric, and he has bestowed unto me his gifts. It was whilst scrying on family that I did indeed find myself spiritually within Vorod, witnessing acts that I would not like to bring to light within the esteemed company of the lords and ladies of this court. And indeed, they did have my father. It was there that your average citizen of Fili-Durzan was being tormented under the employ of, presumably, obviously without markings or such, of Windward. Regardless, it is a human city, as far as I'm aware, and the attack upon Fili-Durzan was by human forces, those of Windward. Whilst I do speak of the negatives and why we should be fearful, I would like to restate that this is just to concrete the fact that we will be asking for not just your support, we will be asking for the dwarves' support as well, as they are more than wont to give it. It's not just the dwarves we will be speaking to, we will be speaking to others, and that is on top of what we already have within our, I do not wish to say rebellion, but who have agreed to join the cause.
There is no more apt name for what it is you are asking us to do.
Indeed.
I would like to stand down the floor from Lord Camber and Officer directly. I wish for you to go into detail about these other forces and those who you plan to have join with you. You say you plan to have the Dan, or whatever is left of them after their attack, to join your cause. What else do you plan?
Certainly, Lord Talisan. Please, if you feel these points do apply to you, Lady Viseru and Lord Camber, then of course be my guest to take them on yourselves. The forces by which we mean to employ and already have within our employ are, as you're well aware, the August Monks, as we have spoken with Grandmaster Suam Pati. We are currently in talks. We wish to further the agreement between ourselves and those of Brine. We are currently dealing with various guards and officers that are within Brine itself. As unbelievable as some may find, we did encounter hill giants that were being subjugated by the forces of the Order of Knights. We have since liberated them, and they will not trouble these lands as they were going to at the August Monastery, and instead they have pledged their allegiance to us. That is an entire clan of hill giants. Additionally, during our travels, we have recruited, again, believe it or not, snow leopards that resided within the ice caves. During our time within the capital, and as I do not know if you are aware, but I will certainly secede the floor to someone that would wish to speak on the matter more. We do have half-elf rebels that freed themselves with our support of the oppression within the capital of Jasjukai, and they have pledged themselves to our cause, as well as various what we would call elite units, bands of adventurers and mercenaries who are not doing this for coin, but for betterment of the realm.
I'd like to stand up at that point as you reference the half elves. I'd just like to let's chime in with a little bit, if that pleases the lords and ladies.
I concede the floor to the taunter of fate, Rennas.
Sit back down, by all means.
With regards to the half elves, their support is invaluable in so many ways as a symbol. I have no idea if you are aware of the conditions that the half elves were living in the capital. I'm aware there's always rumours, there's always imbalance. I had heard they were living in the slums, and although that was not ideal, you can live with that. There's always some sort of separation, but that was not the case. They were walled off, there was no food, they were just left to starve and rot for months. It was disgusting. These people sat there half-starved, barely able to move, were still able to stand up and fight back against the people oppressing them. That is how strong our side can be. That is how much damage we can do to them if we fight for the right reasons. We are fighting for life. They were fighting to oppress, but the half-elves were fighting for freedom. And with that freedom, they stood up, they broke out of the city, they broke down their walls, they fought through so many soldiers getting out of there before we finally helped them escape from the city. I truly believe that is a fantastic symbol of the strength that we can face the capital with.
Lord Talasam gives you a very approving nod. And he says, I believe you to be speaking factually and truthfully. You are certainly sure of yourself. I have no more questions at present for matters that the speaker of the voice of Moradin has said. I would like to keep the floor on the taunter of fate. If there is a statement he would like to present in regards to why he believes that Malco should join his rebellion, I formally concede all floor to him. He may address who he wishes.
Thank you, my lord, and I'll give another bow.
The speaker stands up and says, the floor now recognizes the taunter.
I'm going to laugh every time you say that name. As you said when we first came into this room, Lord Talazan.
My apologies. Who are you addressing?
My apologies, Lord Taliesin.
Sorry, that was.
I was speaking. Sorry. My apologies. I was addressing Lord Taliesin.
Very good. So you are addressing Lord Taliesin.
As you said when we first entered this chamber today, Lord, you had no idea that you were entering this chamber to hear such dire news and such a suggestion. It's been a very short time since our home was burned to the ground by Edgar and his knights. A matter of a few months, although it feels like a lifetime ago. We had no idea what was in store for us. We had no idea what was coming, and every challenge that they have thrown at us, we have overcome. We have moved through. We have defeated demons. We have defeated dragons. We have defeated armies. There is no other course of action that could be taken. The choice of this war is not a choice of rebellion or anything. It is a choice of life. As Korgrin said earlier, there is no way of the capital winning that doesn't involve the death of everyone. They are sacrificing countless innocent lives to bring their demons into this world. The only way that the world can continue in any semblance of its current form is to fight against that. This world is for the living. This world is for us. This world does not belong to the demons. They must return to where they came, and we will ensure it is done.
I bring this question towards you, Rennas, and I also invite any companions to speak.
Thank you.
To assist in your statement. Have you a plan to defeat the king?
The king currently in the capital is too well guarded for anything but a rebellion, but a war. This is why we seek the help of everyone we can. We must be able to defeat the capital's armies to be able to get close to him.
But there is no plan.
I raise my hand.
Please speak, voice of Moradin.
Thank you very much, Lord Taliesin. We're currently in the midst of working on a plan. We recently have come to access information that will help turn the tide. Currently, as you're all aware, I'm sure, that Jarshkai is wrapped within an eternal winter, and the Mages Guild, the
Menagerie.
The Menagerie has been researching this very heavily, and is one of the reasons why it demands tribute from all outlying villages so heavily from all of you. We have found what we believe to be the source of this, which will allow us movement, troops, access to land, and a surprise that the forces of Jarshkai will not expect. We are aware that the land of Jarshkai has been made the lair of one white dragon known as Aurora, the Freezing Embrace. We intend to slay her, and upon this feat will the lands be returned to a more natural state, as opposed to the eternal damning winter that it is. We do not know how the forces of Jarshkai will react to this, namely the king and Edgar himself, but this would grant us an excellent opportunity to besiege the capital in a way that they would not expect, where we are not going to be hindered by traversing or navigating or surviving the lands, because we will be able to move freely through them. This is not meant to be a bloody war. This is going to ideally just be the removal of the heads of the snakes, namely King Turiel Windward, and the right hand in orchestrating most of this, the knight commander, whatever his rank is, Edgar Talion. We do not wish to prolong this. We do not wish to prolong the suffering of the peoples of any of these nations. Simply the removal of King Turiel and Edgar Talion.
I'll then step forward. And I'll say,
The floor recognizes the relentless huntress Arrabella.
thank you. Lord Taliesin, when we have removed these venomous heads from the enemy we are facing, we do intend, and I'm not sure if you're aware, but we currently have the rightful King Zathras in our company. He is currently not showing any willing to want to reign over Windward afterwards.
There is a kind of a unison set of surprise from pretty much every lord here.
Yes, when we broke out of our prison within the capital, we found Zathras too. Our every intention is to put him back on the throne, but should he not choose to, we will enter discussions to see if we can make it more of a democracy to ensure that this sort of thing never happens again. As I'm sure you can appreciate, our main concern right now is removing the heads, but we do have a plan for what will happen afterwards. Thank you, and I'll stand back.
I would like to bring my matter back onto the Taunter of Fate's statement. If there is anything else you wish to continue or add on to it, please continue.
I will stand back up. Lords, ladies, we could stand here listing our accomplishments, which, as we have already mentioned a few, there are plenty of them. But I'm more concerned with what we have faced. What monstrosities and evilness the other side is willing to employ. On the first day of leaving first day of leaving Oakenheath, our town burned to the ground. We came across the cultists, summoning Balgoras. We had never seen such demons, and we did not quite understand then the significance that it had. But already, all that time ago, they were summoning demons in our own cities, just outside of our own towns, ready to attack. These are not natural creatures. These are not normal armies. The evilness of the people summoning demons, and now that we understand what it requires to summon, the sacrifices needed, that is why facing the capital is so important to us. This whole journey began for us, fleeing for our lives. We did not know what to expect. We did not know what was coming. I wish we could show you every step that our journey has taken since then. But every step towards the king, up to meeting him face to face and seeing the evilness in his eyes, there is no hope for that side. There is no democracy. No.
You see,
No idea.
You see, I think the word you may be looking for.
Talking of war. No, like war, when you talk to people to find diplomacy, that's the word I was looking for.
I'm just going to have to say, Lord Taliesin, a little annoyed that you were unsure of the words to use there.
So am I. I can only apologise, Lord Taliesin. This is speaking in my...
He looks annoyed that you apologised. Sorry.
This is not my normal domain, speaking to such lords and ladies. I grew up in the bottom of society, and I've worked my way to where I am. But you do not want me on your side for my ability to stand in a room and talk. You want me on your side for my ability to kill dragons, to kill demons, and to slay anyone that stands between us and the king. And I'll step back looking quite ashamed.
Thank you. The floor recognizes that the Taunter of Fate has made his statement. The floor is open for the next person who would like to come forth with their statement.
I will stand up and walk
The
forward.
floor recognizes the Paragon of Justice, Otti. Who would you like to address?
I would like to, if I may, I would like to address everyone. As much as it pains me to be up here, I have to be up here, and I have to do the right thing. And it is important that it is expressed that we would rather be doing anything else but doing this at the moment. We travelled, as mentioned before, from our town in Oakenheath, and we made our way to Brine to try and find out what was going on with Oakenheath and to try and work out where to go next. When we were at Brine, we were told that we might be able to get a audience with the king to divulge the information of that Edgar Talion had burnt our town to the ground. We went there with a tribute to try and gain favour so that we could go in, as people from a village often aren't looked at with high regards. We are nobodies, we are just villagers. All that has been said here has been on, most of it has been on the journey to the capital. Once we got there, we spoke with the Oathsworn, who advised that the king wanted to see us, had heard of our travels, and had heard that we'd come all the way over. This is how we gained the audience with the king, and once we got to the king and we advised him what had happened with Oakenheath, and we had mentioned that Edgar Talion was behind it. Edgar Talion was literally behind him, staring at us as they imprisoned us. The king knew all along what Edgar's plan was, and in all good conscience, I don't think that makes a good person to want to sacrifice everyone in this world to anyone. And I just bow my head and just, if there are any questions, please feel free to ask.
Lord Camber will stand up. It must have been quite a journey from constantly being attacked, and as the Taunter of Fate has mentioned, how you were engaged with demons being summoned just outside of your towns. I would like to approach this with an utmost honesty. I have a great many people to think about. What victories have you won so far?
Our first major victory was fighting our way out of Oakenheath. From there, we have fought demons just outside the city, as mentioned previously. We have also fought a small. I'm trying to remember if it was a baby or it was a baby white dragon. A young white dragon. Which
you have defeated a dragon.
We have. This was the first that we defeated across our travels.
The first you defeated?
That is correct.
How many have you defeated?
3.
I'd
4.
like to stand. It's 4 dragons, your lord.
Wow. Wow. And
as he's kind of muttering, I'll start rummaging within the bag of holding and just start producing various fangs, scales. I'm holding them for now, and I'll wait to actually present them, but I'm just collecting them out of the bag first.
And sorry to press on, but what other victories have you won? Great victories beyond defeating a dragon. Several dragons.
Otti, would you mind?
Go for it. I'll take a step back.
I'll stand up.
The floor
Holding.
recognizes the voice of Moradin.
I'll step forward and present to all the main lords and ladies, say Rutalson and Camber, obviously. Make sure he's got the biggest fangs and scales, just to make really, really hammer home the point. But I'll just present.
So,
Was that
as
Verity?
a side note, yeah. No, I'm just gonna hand Korgrin like a couple of the unicorn's hair and bring that up as well if you want.
Thank you. I'll present the white dragon fangs, claws and scales of various sizes because they are young and they should be mature. Not ancient, but actual adult as well.
Viseru picks up one of the scales and says, "My goodness, it's still cold to the touch. How long has it been dead?"
Well, that very much changes depending on who the owner of the dragon was, who the owner of the tooth was. We fought the young worm several weeks ago, I believe. That was the first one that we encountered. That was
4 months ago. You defeated the first one.
four months ago.
Yeah. To be fair, the campaign started at the beginning of spring. You're now approaching the end of summer.
Okay.
In nearly about 6 months.
Okay. That was the first dragon that we encountered. It was a time before we then encountered further. We encountered dragons 2 and 3 within the depths of the capital of Jarashjukai while we were making our escape from the prison. And the final dragon we encountered was an adult, which we encountered in the ice caves, who, if I remember correctly, was along the names of Rhymefang or something like that. He was the mate of Aurora the Freezing Embrace. He was a full-fledged adult dragon. Now, I appreciate that was not what you had asked, Lord Camber. Great victories we have won. While it comes as somewhat of a surprise, I can think of 2 that are at least worth merit and worth recognition. Our first...
I appreciate the candor, voice of Moradin, but my question was in fact directed to the power of justice.
Fair enough. Bow, sit back down, just turn to Otti and go. The 2 I can think of are probably the Everautumn Forest and the battle with the Drow against the undead forces. That was kind of a battle. That was actually like full scale. Thank you, lords and ladies. I'll sit back down.
They bow.
So I stand back up and I bow my head as I stand back up again. Thank you. Dr. Korgrin, thank you. So one of the battles that we did make our way through was the outside of Brine. We were walking with Lord Halftree outside of Brine, and
Sarah has an air of recognition about her face.
And we discovered some demons that were by. It was some land outside of Brine. There's the big forest out there, and we fought battle with the demons that were there. There were some rocks, and there were some
Mance's dredges.
Dredges is what I'm thinking of. There's some dredges.
Was it asking Jack the DM the question? Was there a manticore as well? Or was there two?
There were two manticores. There were two knights. The main forces of the demons in the Everautumn Forest were dredges and menaces.
Mm-hmm.
A Vrock in reserve.
Thank you.
Their forces were strong, and we managed to destroy them so they would not spread their wickedness to the forest.
Lord Camber looks quite encouraged by this, actually. And he goes and says, "But that's very impressive. Dragons and defeating an entire army of demons. What other victories have you had? Great victories."
One more that we have done before we got to the capital. That we found a small village on the outskirts of the road, and they were being set on by the undead. We managed to secure the village, where we discovered not a very nice person was raising the undead there. We managed to defeat them, and the village is now back to normal.
You saved the people there.
We saved the people there.
Lord Campbell looked very happy at that statement. And this person who started all of this, what could you go into detail? Like, what was their objective there to attack this?
Their objective was to raise an army. My understanding on that sort of magic is not the best, so I apologize in advance.
I open the floor to anybody else who would like to elaborate.
Step up.
Sorry, as a DM, Zach, I'm going to sort of say, like,
I know.
you spoke quite a lot, mate. Is anybody else who would like village as for your victories?
I mean, Verity or Arri would be the person to speak about Desdemondo, I think, seeing as you dived into the void to... I know Arri actually did, but Verity tried to before you stopped her.
Yeah.
Do you want to do it, George? Are you happy for me to? Because I'm conscious you haven't spoke very much.
I'm good. You go ahead.
Okay, cool. Arri will reluctantly step forward, and the being's name was Desdemonda. From what we can gather, she was there to bring a beast into this world. Jack, what was the beast's name?
It was simply the Great Old One.
She was attempting to bring the Great Old One into this world through Greenfold. What we did... Well, I actually jumped into the void where the Great One was and stopped her before she could. The only reason why I'm here today, I'm not sure if you believe in angels, but one saved me and brought me back.
Amazing.
I understand that probably doesn't sound very believable, and unfortunately I have no physical proof. I just have my word.
I believe you. Just from your face, you speak as one who was there and not just making it up. I have one final question, and I addressed the entire group for this. And I would like you all to answer me truthfully. Do you believe you can do this?
Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind we can be victorious over this evil.
If he's going one by one, I'll just wholeheartedly.
We must.
Yes, we are a strong team with powerful support from different sources.
With the backing of yourselves, yes, I do believe that we can do this. That we can stop it before it gets as bad as it did those many years ago.
Has the Weave Breaker returned from spacing out? With everybody showing such confidence in yourself, Lord Camber, despite the fact that he looks quite scared, he clears his throat again, readjusts his tunic, turns towards the rest of the chamber and says, I'm convinced. I do not believe them to be liars. I believe them to be speaking of truth. They have won great victories. They are sure of themselves, and most importantly, they care for others. They care for the people. That's why they do this. Turns towards the rest of you. Yes. You have my support. My lands, my people will assist you. I will do what I can. I will do my part, as well as my people, to ensure that the corruption and the destruction and the chaos that the king is inviting into these lands is met with and quelled. And he steps back down with a general sense of surprised, excited whispers from about a third of the chamber, to which the speaker soon silences. The floor recognizes the statement made by the paladin, by the paragon of justice. Lord Camber has given his support and is convinced he will now be excused from the future, from the questionings and the statements. I now invite the floor to another member of the group to give a statement.
Russ will step up, I guess.
Go
The floor recognizes the soul and sword. Who do you like to?
Hi. I'll address both Lord Taliesin and Lady Visero. Lord Camber is still there, right? But just...
Yeah, he's still there, but by Meltokian custom.
You cut out.
Can
Last
you
thing we heard was Meltokian custom.
By Meltokian customs, backed out of the active engagement of statements and cross examinations. So he's present. You can still address him. It's just that he's no longer one of the speakers
on
of
the
Meltokia.
table.
Yeah.
Okay. With this statement, I would like to address Lady Visero and Lord Taliesin, please.
They bow. Sit patiently.
I feel that I should introduce myself. I'm Russ Arbor. I'm a soldier from. I was in a faction fighting battle with the Frost Giants from the east for many years. I recently came to serve under my brother, Commander Ruber Arbor, and I left when he was appointed knight under the head of knights Edgar Talion. It drove us apart, and I sought help elsewhere since I saw through this agreement. I may have been somewhat distant politically, based on my position on the outskirts, but I think it's obvious to everyone that the king's behavior, the kingdom's decisions, have been becoming increasingly erratic over the last few years. The decisions that have been made, as you have already heard here today, have been detrimental to many, and the values of the kingdom seem to have been swayed, and we are no longer aiming to do good, but to corrupt, if you will. I believe that a possible reason for this change in the kingdom's direction may be the appointment of Edgar Talion as head of the Order of Knights. I have had interactions with Mr. Talion myself, through my brother, and I do not doubt for one instance that he does intend to summon the Demon Lord Organath. Other members here today will have more to say about that side of things, about the evidence we have of his intentions. But I strongly believe that having someone like that, having such a strong impact on the king and his decisions, is a very bad idea. I'll carry on. Sorry if this feels long, but I really kind of planned it as a sort of monologue.
Do it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Things have been getting worse. You've heard about the revolt in the capital, and probably noticed as my party members have said, the disjointed attacks to do with demons that have been happening over the kingdom. We really want to show opposition to King Turiel's regime and rectify the damage done to Talia. That if we put aside the summoning of Organath, letting the king's behavior go unchecked would be disastrous on its own, causing political turmoil, economic consequences, devastating many lands near here, not to mention consequences for the people as citizens of this land. However, if Edgar Talion is indeed prompting the king to summon Organath, the consequences, as you can imagine, would be far greater. We're no longer talking about turmoil and detriment to their economy. We are talking about possibly the end of this plane of existence. If we do not stop this, everything else becomes irrelevant. It's not about who we side with, what land we own, who we believe in, our desires. Life as we know it could end under the rule of King Turiel. I'd like to re-emphasize that we are in a good position to declare war on the capital. We're on the right side of history for a start, and have people's interests in mind. We have powerful allies and have been building this army essentially. We have the support of the August Monastery, and I can guarantee that benefits really outweigh risks in all matters of this. As you have heard from some of us, we have competence. We are a competent party. Since I have joined these 5 valuable members, we have defeated a Planetar, 2 Marids, and a Garistro, all at the same time. We I didn't take part in this, but we passed the trials of the August Monastery, whereas I was trained more personally by Vihan. What's his last name? Arri?
Idea.
Yeah, that's it. That was out of character, I hope.
Yeah. Sure.
But and we also encountered an army of hill giants, which we swayed in our direction. But what was not mentioned earlier is that these hill giants were being misled, corrupted, trained by the capital, this particular group, by Sir Cadmus Aquawing, who we were forced to kill without really intending to do so in the first place, because he intended to report our whereabouts to the king. And yeah, they were training hill giants to take part of this battle, but effectively on the wrong side. I think that's kind of what I want to say for that, but
Lord Taliesin clears his throat, as well as Lady Viseiro, indicating they both have questions. The floor is yours.
The floor is yours. Who do you
um,
want to allow to speak, basically?
Lady Viseiro, do you have a question?
Oh, I certainly do. Thank you very much. I have to. Hey, the words you're telling us today is just, well, quite astounding, really. You were a soldier, and you, for lack of, I apologize if this is a lack of grace of the words, but you turned your back on your oath to the kingdom because you believed in something else.
I saw that my brother was becoming too familiar with Edgar Talion, whose intentions I knew were evil, for lack of a better word. I didn't
Evil
turn my
is-
back on the kingdom.
Come on now, evil is a bit of a oversimplification of the things clearly are bad. I know so many people in the country, none of them have ever spoken to me about corruption or demonic possession or anything of the sort.
At the very least, I believe his intentions to be slightly nefarious.
Well, I ask you, Soul and Sword Russ, if we were to dedicate forces to your rebellion, turn it into
You've gone there.
if we were to dedicate our forces, lay siege to Jarashkai, break inside, go inside the palace itself, what is the fate of those within? You've clearly made your position well known in regards to the king and Edgar Talion, and that their actions are unforgivable. But what of those who support them? What of the ministers? What of the knights? What of the oath-sworn? What of the many, many, many hundreds and hundreds of people who perform vital functions within the kingdom that support the king and keep him up there? What do you have in mind for them?
I'll let anyone else speak up if they have anything to add to this, but I'm hoping that as we express our intentions more clearly, that we form sides more clearly, that it will become evident who stands with whom, who stands with which side. We will try to save as many as we can and try to recruit people to the right side of things, but I there may be some left behind. It's sometimes a sacrifice that we may have to make in face of such a great threat, even against our wishes.
I'd like to stand up at this point. That's okay, Russ.
Viseru gives the floor to the Taunter of Fate.
Lady Viseru, there are obviously many levels of evil. The people that are supporting the king and Edgar, I am confident that many of them do not know his true intentions, do not know his true goals, and I hope that once given evidence of such crimes, they would all support us and turn against him. That said, anyone that did not openly fight us in combat, we would not be seeking out. We are not executioners. That's not what this is. If they are vital to the city and will keep the city going and will serve the new king, or whatever system of government does end up, then we can arrange some kind of leniency. If anyone openly fights our army in battle, I'm sure you can understand that mercy and quarter may not be given. But after the battle is done, when, not if, when we are victorious, those who remain will be given the chance to join us, and as long as we trust them to do so willingly and not to be nefarious and try and overthrow the new government, then they will be allowed to resume life.
Well, as a counterpoint to that, Taunter of Fate, there are two individuals that I can personally think of that are certainly up there on the list of individuals whom help manage the power of the kingdom. Their names are Valentine and Eliza Farrington. They themselves are...
What was that? Sorry, the first name?
Valentine Shearington.
That was the Minister of Commerce, right?
No, that was the Minister of War.
He was the one who was very indifferent to being there. Yeah. He didn't like being in the fancy frou-frou ball party.
No, because he was aware that there's a threat in regards to the ice giants. Russ, you are aware of... Met him? He's basically the guy who pays the army, manages the army, so...
And the second one was the Minister...
Eliza Farrington. And that was the Minister for Magic. Now I believe that's somebody Verity spoke to.
Yeah.
Now, these two individuals are...
I can't remember. Was my impression with her good or not?
Yeah.
She was a learned individual, and she was very much interested in your form of magic, but you didn't spend too much time with her. You actually spent more time speaking with Ken Hastebridge. I believe it was Arri who spoke most with Valentine Shearing. And it was...
I was trying to hit on him, and I set him straight.
And Helena Dirchville, who was...
You keep on breaking out, Jack.
Yeah, you keep cutting out for just a couple of seconds.
Oh dear. Helena Dirchville was the of... who is the one that Rennas pickpocketed.
Mm-hmm.
Himself a few hundred capital. And then there are two more ministers as well that you are aware of met. One was Daphne Nathaniel. They are the Minister for Culture. That was the person who Verity danced with on the ballroom floor. And the Minister of Entertainment, Wally Foon, you all know, except for us.
So could you just repeat what...
sorry, who was that I danced with?
You danced with Daphne Nathaniel, the Minister for Culture.
And could you just repeat what...
Wally?
No, Viseru's getting to. So she's asking for leniency for her friends and blah blah.
Yeah, so basically, Viseru is basically saying that Valentine and Eliza are two top-end individuals. Effectively, Eliza owns the menagerie and Valentine owns the army, and together they head some of the most powerful aspects of Windwood. She's basically interested in what their fate would be.
Thank you.
Lady Sewu, their fates, as is often the case, are in their own hands. Obviously, I would like them to join us and support us. If that was not the case, I would look for leadership and help from people who knew them best, such as yourself, Lady Sewu. Perhaps you could give examples of where they would be best suited. If they would need to be replaced, I'm sure you'd be able to give me some names of who would be able to replace them after the war.
Oh, I can think of one. She gives you a coy smile. But we can discuss that in due course. I know Valentine. He's a very straightforward individual. Terrible sense of humour. If you were to march on the king, then he would undoubtedly lead the army. He would most likely meet you in the field of combat. He's very hands-on like that, as we say. What would be his fate if he lost? Were he to be captured? Would he die if he was to take to the field and fight against you?
May I step forward?
Yeah, of course. She addresses concedes the floor to Arrabella.
I have met the Minister of War myself, and I do agree with you about his sense of humour. Unfortunately, it's quite similar to my own. And I agree with you.
She looks slightly annoyed at that admission of not having a sense of humour.
And I imagine, as you say, that we will see him on the path of war. We commented on scars, to put it simply. And I can see that he is a man who doesn't just command from the back, he gets in on the throng. Should we encounter him, I hope that he will either relent to us, or if he does not, then I hope to at least capture him, because he is a man that is good at his job. He is a passionate man, and he would be a waste to kill. He would be good for our side.
I like that answer.
I'd like to stand back up. Oh, sorry.
And she was going to say, and what of Eliza? But
I didn't speak to Eliza much myself, I'm afraid.
Is that Eliza Farrington?
Yes.
Yeah. I briefly spoke to her. I believe she's curious.
Wink? Question mark?
Well, I'm just sat there looking blue, so I assume I look magic, therefore the Minister of Magic would be curious.
You weren't blue at the time, I think.
Not at the time, but right now.
Yeah.
I'm hoping Vizero is able to put two and two together as oh, here's an obviously magic-looking individual the Minister of Magic is interested in.
Well, no, you certainly get the feeling that she senses you are the type of person that Eliza would be interested in.
Yeah, that's all I want to say.
Forward once more. Sorry. I'm just going to double check. I'm pretty certain it's 4. Yeah, we have 5. 4? 4. We do currently have on our side 4 of the heads of schools that were under the Minister of Magic.
Oh, I know all of them. Please name them for me.
Give me 2 seconds. That's me saying it as Megan, not as
Arri.
Arri
No problem.
Arri has
knows,
keen mind.
She's got keen mind.
It's like we've now approached the tests.
We have the Evoker Stain. We have the Conjurer Ophelia. We have the Divinator Estuan, who saw that it was best to come with us, and the Necromancer Catan.
Oh, Catan. Goodness. Apologies, I'm horribly grossed out by that man.
And so are we, but he's useful.
Usefulness and cleanliness are fine.
It's why he has his own tent, away from everybody else.
Yes, I always thought he was a bit of a scream at night. Honestly, if he owned a graveyard, it'd be the dead center of town.
Hey.
As I'm chuckling, I'll step back.
As you guys laugh at her joke, you get the feeling that she's warmed up to you guys quite a lot more, actually. And she says, "You know what? I quite like you guys. You guys are on the level."
So I'd like to stand up at this point again and speak to Lady Vaseru.
She addresses you. Taunt her of fate, please.
Lady Vaseru, you say if we march on the capital that, and I've forgotten his name already.
Valentine.
Valentine would raise the army and come meet us on battle. What do you believe his reaction would be if he were to receive information or a contact from a close friend of his who he knew very well and respected, such as yourself, for example, Lady Vaseru? What do you think his reaction would be to that?
Unfortunately, Valentine Shearington, he's a very able man in his position, in that he's able to separate his role from himself as a person. Regardless of whether or not he's in the right, he is to defend Windward. To lead the king's army is to manage the king's army. If we are rebelling against the king, then that automatically makes Valentine our enemy, whether or not he likes it or not. If we were to defeat him, then and he was spared, and say we were to depose the king, he would then, if he was still to be put in his position by the next monarch, he would then defend that monarch with all of his might. Unfortunately, Minister Shearington is not the type of person you can sway. He's the only type of person to defeat and temporarily put away. That's my impression of the man.
I thank you very much for your insight, Lady Vaseru.
You are most welcome, Taunter of Fate. I have to ask, how did you acquire such an interesting title?
Well, I don't believe in fate prescribing anyone's actions. I believe everyone has free will and should be able to choose what their decisions are made, even when, on occasion, I may make the wrong decision and have to be saved by my good dwarf friend right here.
I get the feeling that if I was to find myself on the wrong side of your blades, you'd probably put in a few quips here and there.
I would be delighted to have a few quips any time, Lady Vaseru.
So, I'm hearing a lot about... Well, I'll bring this matter later on. I believe we have other statements before we get more into the muck of things, shall we say. But I am very much on the level of... I think we can have a good equal talk once we've listened to all sides of this story.
Also, I wait to... Like, Lord Taliesin was going to ask something earlier, but maybe we'll get back to it.
No, she now concedes.
You cut out after you said concedes.
Yes, so it's she will concede it. So
it's there's really something wrong with your sound. It doesn't seem to be the mic because you seem to be quite close to it, but it's just every so often for like 3 or 4 seconds it just cuts out and we see you speaking, but it doesn't.
That's a year-long problem.
Yeah.
Is this why you went to the internet by any chance, rather than the app?
Yes.
So I don't remember this being as much of a problem for a while, so we'll have to try and sort something out.
Has it been happening like consistently, like every few minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Today, yeah.
Can't win.
We've been able to make out. We've been able to guess most of it though, so it's good.
Yeah.
when we haven't, we'll point it out.
God damn it! Things weren't this bad. Last time things were this bad, I was using my phone.
Yeah.
Those were the dark days. Back before the computer.
Jack's getting a text.
In the before time.
Alright. So Lord Taliesin stands up and he says, I have to ask, soul and sword, how does a soldier who fights against the ice giants of West come to find themselves allied with Suam and the August Monastery?
Wait, sorry, I wasn't listening for some reason.
He repeats himself with a more annoyed expression. He's basically asking how you came from basically fighting ice giants in the northwest to getting involved with Suam and the monastery.
Essentially, things happened that way. The plan was to leave from serving under my brother's faction, simply because I did not trust the people he was putting so much faith in. The plan was to return after a break of several months, maybe having sorted out some of the difficulties. I decided to travel, both to get away and to train, with the aim of returning stronger. A chance encounter led to me meeting a monk from the August Monastery, and then upon impressing him, I was introduced to Vihanadira and Suampati.
And what were your impressions of such a place?
It felt warm, communal, filled with dedication and passion. It was a welcome change from the army, where I was somewhat undervalued at times. I was grateful to learn from these masters and really hone my skills, discover my weaknesses, find my strengths.
I have heard enough. You speak with the honesty and integrity of Grandmaster Suam, who taught me many, many, many years ago. I have never known him to be a liar. I have not known you to be liars. The threat you speak of is real and all-encompassing, and cannot be ignored. He turns to the rest of the chamber and says, I hereby give them my support in this struggle. I withdraw myself from the collection of statements. With that, he sits down and gives you all an approving nod.
I nod back.
The speaker says, I believe we have another statement. Lonely Lady Viseru remains from the of the Meltokian Lords to hear and speak for them.
Is it me?
Yeah, it's you.
I think you're up, Verity.
Oh,
It's time to talk.
okay. Where's my notebook? There you are.
The floor recognizes the weave breaker, Verity.
Okay, well, I, Georgia, am nervous. Verity's going to be acting very confident. Verity has
Well-
the confidence I wish I had.
Give it a minute. I'm just going to quickly pop to the toilet, okay?
Okay. So I feel like anytime I have spoken in the past, I would have been like sat down towards the back. For now, okay. So Verity stands up. Okay, so I do my noble bow. And shit.
They bow back.
Before I speak, if there's anyone who has any questions or concerns about my age, please voice them now. I would like to speak without being any misconceptions.
I
Of
have
myself.
absolutely no issues with your age. Lady Visaria is really the only person left to speak for the Meltokian Council. As the
Yeah.
others have themselves.
That was mostly for the other two because I felt like Halfling probably would have had the biggest issue with me, but
Well,
Drogon
he's
would
already
have
given
that.
you his support, so.
I would first like to say, Lady Visaria, that we have entered this council far more knowledgeable than we have ever been. Thanks to the monks of the Monastery, we have been prior to information that has been withheld and twisted within the capital. They don't know the full truth over there. And having seen both sides, we do come to you honestly with the best knowledge we can at this point.
By all means, speak, and I will listen.
First off, may I just praise your baths? They were wonderful. We went there. Brilliant staff and service.
Oh, I am so happy. Like, I often thought to myself, it's too much, but then I thought, no, let's put more in. I apologize. We are digressing.
so.
We are speaking of matters of war here, but if you enjoyed the bath
Well, it's
so much.
important to understand the assets of each other, is it not?
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad that you know that you're of the that you enjoy the finer.
Indeed. Well, as you know, Edgecombe was unfortunately passed away. But however, we are friends, and we're a big influence in the hiring of the new mayor, Rachel of Brine.
I have not had the pleasure of meeting her yet. Yeah.
It would be an absolute pleasure to introduce you.
Oh, you can introduce me, could you?
Like I said, we were very integral to her election.
Well, look at you, making friends in all the high places.
Yes, of course we also know Half-Tree, his level centaurs, bordering on the quirky side, but adorable nonetheless.
I would say the odd side, if anything, the amount of that man obsesses over such. I attended a number of dinner parties with him as a child. The amount of paintings he showed me of centaurs made me wonder about him.
Yes. Well, you will be glad to know that he finally fulfilled his lifelong wish. We were able to introduce him as we were going through the Autumn Forest during that battle we won. It was quite impressive. Have you met Wade and Heren in Brine?
I don't
The
believe
master
I've heard of them.
blacksmith.
I don't believe I've heard of
point
them.
to my members and I'm like, the Manticle Bow, the Fiend Bow, Korgrin's armor here, all manufactured by him, and excellent work.
I must say they are quite exceptional.
Yes. So we are on fairly good terms with them themselves. And also, have you ever been to Greenfold?
I can't say I'm even aware of such a place.
Yes, a hidden little gem. That was the place that was unfortunately roaming with undead, but we were able to dispose of them. And the mayor there, Korgrin, is very much in our favor as well.
Well, it just seems that everywhere you go, people are indebted to you.
We do like to leave an impression.
I wonder, have you ever been to a place where you left debtors?
You
I'm
cut
sorry,
off
what was
and
the
you
last
said,
bit?
She said, I wonder if you've ever left the place with you in the debt of somebody else.
I ponder on it for a second. I'm actually genuinely thinking, have we?
I don't know, have you?
Not really. I mean, I just answering as a player, the only debt we kind of have as your way is to Half Tray, but I don't think anyone's actually like we
Yeah.
are in debt to
Well,
anyone.
No, well, Half-Tray gifted that to you. That was
Yes,
his
but then
gift.
we kind of, bankrupted the bloke, and we feel morally obligated to correct that course of action. But in terms of like we actually owe someone, I don't think we do.
No. Well, we don't do this for the benefit of favors. It's give and give alike, isn't it?
Well, it depends on how much giving and gifting you're willing to do.
That's interesting. Before I go any further, I'll have to ask, are you familiar with the Bonkier family name?
I have had their seal on my desk on a number of occasions.
Yes, I'm the ward of the Bonkiers.
Oh. And how is Torrin nowadays?
I am unaware. I was not favourable of their practices and have ventured out to forge my own path.
I can't possibly see how you would be in their bad graces. You're so endearing.
Unfortunately, they don't feel the same way.
Well, I believe that's
My
their
magic is a bit too wild for them.
Nothing's wild. I just say it's surprising and unpredictable.
Korgrin will genuinely like have a little smile and chuckle at that because Verity is exactly that.
I think it goes without saying that people who ally with us now are more likely to be in favor afterwards. Some favorable positions which will open up more or less after the war. And during the war, there is much to invest in. People will be looking for resources, land.
Oh? And you think that my family, my representative, could possibly be the individuals who provide such provisions, such lands? There'll be a lot of free
Provide.
constructions needed, I believe.
I'm sure anything that would be provided towards the war efforts would be recompensated grandly. Trying to think of a word which is like big.
Well, such a costly endeavour could certainly be filled by the costs of my family. But it would be a matter of what such an endeavour would benefit us.
Well, as I said, many rewards to be reaped after war, are there not?
Indeed. Could you give me an
And
idea
more
of what
invested
exactly
in.
those rewards could be?
Well, undoubtedly there will be a shake-up in the capital's government system. We have connections to other cities which we are looking to create a more tight-knit network between. This whole separation and segregation between companies and politics, it's created such a mess, if you will, of what things have become.
Well, I happen to know an extremely organised individual who would be able to sort out such mess.
And if you say it's not yourself, I will be very disappointed.
Oh, of course, I only speak of. I must inquire if such a position was to open up in the capital, say beside the ruling monarch at the time. If one of the Viseru clan could potentially fill that spot, well, that would certainly be a cause worth offering, a cause worth backing. And you can see her eyes like narrow a little.
I will say this with the most genuine, most honestly as honestly as I can right now. Whilst I cannot guarantee on my life that you will get the position, I can guarantee that you will have our backing, and that if anyone asks for our opinion, advice, guidance, Visera will definitely be on our tongue.
You're a clever little guy. You're about to change the course of history forever. You're about to go and depose a royal family that's been there since the formation of this entire country. You'll be leading people into a new world. I'm fairly certain anything you say will go. So if you're willing to say a certain thing in the aid of the Viseru, then the Viseru would certainly be willing to spend a few coin in the aid of bringing about that new world.
Well, I do think it would be the first favour we would owe.
Now, I would like to address the entire group on this matter. May I ask, you've had many names. Which name is it that you truly go by?
As a group, you mean?
Yes.
Or as individuals?
I'd suggest maybe saying Unforgotten, just like talking to people quietly.
It's the more professional one that we've gone by. It's the one that won us the title, of champions in the Ring of Dumas.
But Numpty is honest.
But doesn't really inspire confidence.
You are also known as the Guardians of Jarrus.
Yeah, but that seems a little bit harsh, seeing as the last time we were there, we were busy burning to the ground.
You've got to
Then we are also we are also the Guardians. And that is our goal, isn't it? To free the city
fair,
of tyranny.
It's up to you guys.
Not necessarily of Jarrus. Like
You could also
name.
You could also like rename yourselves now. It's like
The Guardians of Windwood.
What about the Guardians of the Galaxy?
There we go.
Get out.
Dance off, bro!
Oh fuck!
look
Yeah,
what
she
you've done.
yeah, she got out.
Yeah, no, I reckon the Unforgotten is like the Guardians of Windwood, but we're known as the Unforgotten. It's got some sort of recognition, and we can always rename ourselves later. But Unforgotten sounds slightly less piss-taking than Team Numpty.
Oh.
Although she's supposed to have a sense of humour.
What about Guardians of the Forgotten?
Oh, a combination.
Makes it sound like we're like fetching memories or something.
We
Well, we
kind
kind
of
of are.
Yeah.
Texting.
No, I actually quite like that. Guardians
Yeah.
of the Forgotten.
I'm going to be quiet now.
And considering the entire war essentially has been erased, yeah, we are the Guardians of the Forgotten.
I'll stand up.
I guess. Yeah.
Lady Seru, we have stood before you, as you say, with many names, but the name that we choose to go by is the Guardian of the Forgotten. The Forgotten is everyone that died in this last war that has been practically erased from the history books. It's terrible. We would like to defend these memories, defend the innocent people, and we would like to defend the people right now. The Guardians of the Forgotten is our name.
Mm-hmm.
a very, very fitting. So, Guardians of the Forgotten. You've spoken much about war and of the dangers, but not of the spoils. What do you see benefiting those who participate in the war?
Not dying a horrible death to the Demon Lord Arcanist?
Asking Jack
Not-
the DM, am I allowed to contribute again?
Oh, yeah. No, this is addressing everyone.
Stand up. I'm sure you're aware that dwarves are a warlike folk. We go at it a fair bit. The spoils, as I mentioned, with the land surrounding Jarus being free of the winter that it is suffering from, That is quite a vast amount of land that will suddenly no longer belong to a certain royal family. It's land that will require investment. It will require infrastructure. If there were someone with connections to merchant guilds or the like, it will require ownership, rents, and fees to be paid, I'm sure. The spoils themselves, well, we don't really want for coin right now. We've been very generous in giving back to our allies.
Imagine with the amount of dragons you've been dealing with, you've dealt with a number of their famed hordes, have you?
Are you familiar with the dwarven city of Drogon de Mortar?
I think I may have read it in a history book at some point.
Well, the mate of Aurora, the Freezing Embrace, he had very much hoarded an entire dwarven city's wealth unto his own.
I see.
And what did we do with it? Well, we saw a few trinkets we retained for our own purpose. But the gems? The gold pile? The various ancient, lost dwarven jewellery techniques no longer known to crafters. That just went to our allies to fund the war effort.
I can't raise my eyebrows anymore, just so you know.
Okay.
I was going in stages.
Uh-huh. Very much.
You can draw them on a bit higher.
Very much given to our allies, just to soldier on. It does not feel like it's a good use of such items when simple coin would do the trick, but it is all we have to offer for trade, for negotiation. So, a few. And other dragons that we are aware of that have joined the same cause, they have not escaped our eye either. We know there is treating with Goliath the Mighty, a certain greedy, isolated red dragon on an island of his own. Aurora, the Freezing Embrace, so many thousand years old, what treasures could she possibly, unfathomably hold?
I believe I have heard him.
Sit back down.
I believe it is in the best interest of Meltokian to not only survive this war, but I also believe that, with the right identification, this could be extremely beneficial for us in regaining some of our lost heritage, of our independence, maybe. I'm sure these are talks to be had with the next monarch, but I'm convinced. I hereby give my support to the group.
Do 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 do.
And she sits back down, and the speaker steps forward and says, "Well, as per Meltokian customs, all three have been convinced of the effort. And so I hereby pass the motion." The front doors open up, and most of the crowd turns towards it, as you all see 3 individuals walk in. 2 of them are very clearly knights of the capital. The third person is an individual you don't recognize. Long brimmed coat, like purplish, well adorned with gems and bracelets. He's got combed hair, and he has that fake smile that anyone can tell. There's a lot of general murmuring, whispering as the speaker goes. By the law of the Kree, as chartered by the annexation of Meltokian, Section 12, Paragraph 8, I hereby force the floor to the representative of Windwood, Niccolo Fiolo. Thank
Do
you.
a history check.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Same.
Yeah, anybody who would like to.
I'd just like to gauge the distance between from where I'm sitting to where he's standing.
Real low roll. Oh wait, mine hasn't come through yet.
Really hoping that the two initial low ones, it's gonna get up. Like, go on, Zach. You can do it.
I have clicked, so I do apologize if it comes back through. But
Oh, yeah.
oh yeah, 22 is a 22. What can I say? Huh?
Niccolo
Every faith in you.
Fiolo is the international diplomat of Windwood. He works directly for the king.
Fair enough.
Thank you. I do not mean to interrupt this important assembly. However, when I heard of this meeting, the king requested that I arrive straight over because of the matter of which I would believe is to be discussed. It is good that your Grand Master Suwapati is here, for I have an edict to present. Over a week ago, a message was sent to the Grand Master of certain individuals who will be entering his midst before too long, who was given the order to take these people into custody and hand them over to the capital for crimes of treason, of murder, of violation of an ancient treaty of exile. These individuals, who currently testify before you, are wanted by the country of Windwood for the crimes most heinous against His Majesty, its people. They are known colluders. They are terrorists. They are murderers. They are thieves. They are liars. They are everything.
They are cute.
And they are represent everything that this country is sworn to protect and uphold. So I thought it best to enter this meeting to prevent anybody from doing anything reckless and silly. I have been apprised a great deal of their doings, their secrets that they would not want you to know. Prove their dishonesty, to prove that they are trying to manipulate you into doing something you really shouldn't be doing. That one right there, she points towards Arrabella. I believe that is the one responsible for the murdering of Mayor Edgecombe of Brine. We have several colluded individuals that belong to the organization known as the Tippers that testified towards this. In fact, they were given the mission of assassinating the mayor for alleged accusations of apparently forcing his people into slavery and death. Completely unfounded accusations, I assure you. However, these accusations were enough for her to murder this individual.
And this is your evidence, the testimony of a criminal enterprise.
When applied the correct uses of magics I know that Meltokian looks down upon, but when one is compelled to tell the truth tells a lot of things.
And if your compelling is anything like the Capitals, then your compelling is torture, and anyone will confess to anything under torture.
Those are baseless accusations. The Capital no torture. We simply commit interrogations.
Shit. Yes, that was completely in character. Rennas actually did that.
Ah, yes. This individual is quite well known within the capital. Are you aware that he started a riot in the capital, the death of many hundreds of innocent individuals, and he has shown no regret, no remorse for such an evil deed? What have you to say towards these lords?
The same as I asked for the last accusation you made with absolutely no evidence. What's your
Can I
evidence?
keep an eye and insight on the lords and lady?
Yeah, go ahead.
My insight's always roll shit, but might as well try.
They are listening. That's all you can get for now. Yes, well, fortunately, we have the most esteemed individual, the head of the Order of Knights, who witnessed this act. Firsthand, with first-hand knowledge. He saw him murder a lord and start a riot. In fact, I believe many of these individuals here encouraged said riot, including the supposed holy dwarf over there.
You mean the lord who killed Melchiah? The one who shot him as we were taking him back to the capital?
I have no idea what you're talking about. More baseless lies and accusations.
I have just as much proof as you do.
Please provide the proof that this Melchiah even lived beyond what the history textbooks clearly say.
I produced the letters from my fucking coat.
And please bring Edgar here to testify on his own behalf. You've just got your word that he's saying that. We'd like Edgar to come here and tell us this, please.
His
Edgar.
letters to his sister and his lover after he left the capital.
Those are clearly forged documents.
Yeah, you would say that. At least I actually have proof.
Oh yes.
The
Anyway.
lords and ladies are welcome to inspect these documents at their pleasure.
Does anybody
We've given
here?
our statement.
Does anybody here know? Can anybody verify?
You cut out after you said.
Can anybody here verify that it's Melchiah's handwriting? Can anybody verify that he himself wrote this, or a supposed letter that her siblings and her beloved, fabrications, stories at best? No? No one has anything to say? Well then, I think we're all in agreement that this is pure poppycock, and they are lying to get what they want. And take this individual here, and he's gesturing towards, telling you that the walls of Philidursan were attacked, I'm sure. Did you know that the dwarves of Philidursan were stealing from Windward? Did you know that they were hiding known criminals, much like Sawampati is? And that they failed to hail the reasonable requests of our king? And that they attacked every delegation that we sent until eventually we sent in an armed delegation to retrieve said criminals, which was met with hostilities. With such the threat of violence from, the lesser folk, our king had no choice but to respond in kind. The dwarves were easily crushed, like the savages and barbarians they were. Now what's left of them bend the knee.
For all races that are not human, savages, barbarians, meant to be bred out of existence by the high and mighty Windwardians. Would you see Meltokian kneel
I
in
believe
such a same way?
Meltokian already nailed in such a same way. I believe every lord here would agree that the elves being purged from our communities was a good thing. Was it paved the way to a much purer blood? Still silence from the chamber.
I make a point of making eye contact with every individual that has notable elven heritage.
Look back in your eyes.
We kiss.
They are very uncomfortable with the words he's used. You don't have to insight to know that.
No, I know. I'm just, making that, known that, look, it's not just the elves that are being persecuted, it's any race that isn't humans.
And would you look at that, he doesn't even defend his people's savagery. Clearly he was in on it. He knew, and he didn't tell you. Shocker,
There has been no evidence of his people's savagery. Again, just your word.
I can point to you the bodies of the people who fell in the attempted negations. I can give you the statements of their families, grieve for their losses.
Did their families accompany them to Philidurzan and watch them fall? Or have they just sat at home and been told what you have told them? Or ones like you?
Well, that's the difference between you and I, good sir. I would not dare to send average civilians who need to be protected into the heart of combat, whereas apparently you would arm every man, woman, and child and send them into needless slaughter. I actually respect the lives of my citizens. You apparently don't.
I respect the freedom for them to die in battle rather than be sacrificed to summon the demon spawn that you and your ilk would do every day.
And would you listen to this, lords and ladies? He is defending child souls. Is this the man you really want to back?
My lords and ladies, you have listened to us. You have heard our stories. You have all, I don't want to say supported in front of him. You all agreed to hear us, and you have done so. If your minds are now swayed by the utter baseless lies, they're not all lies, I'll be honest. But he's twisting the truth. I will be completely honest because I have nothing to hide. I have made mistakes. I have done things I shouldn't do. But everything I have said about the king and his followers is absolutely true. And if you value life at all, then you cannot support them.
Lords and ladies, this man is lying to you. Any accusations he's made against the king are pure fabrications. I have no doubt that he believes them himself, which is probably how he coerced the fabled wise into joining him. But it is folly. The king is on your side. The king wants to protect you. The king wants what's best for everyone in Windwood. These individuals would wish to destroy the peace we have fought so hard to maintain.
Excuse me. Hi, sorry, Verity.
Oh, yes, the runaway child of the Lord Therefore, or however you pronounce it in the lower lands that you come from.
See, it's that level of discrimination that I just love about you guys. If I may address the council, the capital recognizes Meltokian as an equal in power and politics. Why is it that they knew we were here, but yet have sent no armies or anything? It's because they're afraid. They've kept you under their thumb for this long. We wish to meet you all here as equals. That's all I want to say. That the Piccolo, whatever.
Nice.
Say his piece and you decide from there. That's all I wish to say on this. Sorry, bye.
Am I to believe that the high and powerful ladies will be swayed by the words of a little girl who probably hasn't even bled yet? She does not know of what she speaks. Her best bet is to give her a pony and dancing in the meadows.
This little
I'm
girl
literally
has
just
more in
sat
the
at
last 4 months than you have in your life.
I'm literally just sat in my position, unflinching, just like staring at the other lords and ladies, just trying to make out, even though my insight was shit, and just being like, I am steadfast in the point we're making, and I'm not even acknowledging him.
They are just listening. And what of this beastly half-orc over there? Given an opportunity to defend the realm, she decided to lay down her arm and point
You're cutting out really bad. I didn't hear a word of that.
Fuck's sake. He gestures over towards Otti. And what of this half-orc beast over here? Given an opportunity to defend the justice of the realm, she in fact lay down her arms to join the very criminals she swore to stop. Is that the sort of individual you would wish to back? The sort of individual you would wish to listen to?
Feel free to listen to what this gentleman here is saying. I do not want Arganeth to rule over everyone. And I'll do
Arganeth is not returning. Pure fabrications.
Okay, if you say so. I say this again. I still do not wish Arganeth, and I will do to return, and I'll do whatever I can to stop it, to protect everyone.
These people have told you lies today. They have told you that the king seeks ill will, seeks to do things with demons, apparently seeks to revive the Dark Lord Arganeth. These are false stories. You, sir, and he points towards you, Russ, you used to be a soldier of the realm. You used to defend the innocent people of this council from the horrors of the Northwest and beyond. The outlying countries wish to do harm to protect that. Speak with the honesty of that integrity now, and tell these people the truth. There is no demons. There are no issues. Everything is right, and these dangerous, deranged, mad individuals are only seeking conflict to disrupt the peace of the realm.
We all know that you trying to discredit us is of great benefit to the kingdom. Even if we do not speak of demons and demon lords, the fact is the kingdom that Turiel is ruling is losing control in more ways than that. I left when I realized the kingdom was corrupted. When you were no longer on the side of what you'd call the greater good. I did not deserve any discredit for leaving when instead of remaining and following blindly for something that I no longer believe in, that does not deserve to be believed in.
Well, you had it before I did, folks. This man is a traitor to the realm.
The
My
traitor's the
lords.
king, not the realm. The realm is the people that you are sacrificing.
The king is the realm.
My lords
The
and
king is the
ladies, if I may, this man, the Lord, what was your name? Piccolo Riolo? Whatever. Would tarnish the name of a soldier. However, with the same brush, he tarnishes the name of Reichstag the Brave, someone who has sworn to protect the realm, resided...
Someone who has been stripped of their efficacy, of their protection, after they too seek destruction. It's good that you bring this up, Dwarf. Reichstag the Brave has been renamed Reichstag the Traitor, for he seeks destruction. He burrowed his way himself, like the worm he is, into the inner machinations of the capital. And when he was confronted with this truth, when he was confronted with the allegations that he is in fact not the friend of the realm, he destroyed a great part of the menagerie and fled.
Whilst also fleeing with the half-elves, whose lives we sought to protect.
No, the half-elves are safely inside the capital, working productive lives as best as they can. Everyone is fine in the capital. There is no discord, no untranquility.
Indeed.
Everything is
However,
fine.
while also calling the half-orc within our company a savage beast, the king would, or Edgar Talion, would also treat with hobgoblins, ogres, goblins, and orcs in the Meltokian forests, whose advisor we routed from their army for being a known worm, coward, and traitor to everything he stands for. Now again, so why would he throw one person under the bus and yet treat with other creatures that he deems also savage, beastly in nature? Because he doesn't care. because he just wants fodder for his army. So he can crush whoever he sees fit to, whoever opposes him, and will then just discard later.
Even if that was true, which it isn't, lords and ladies, but if it was true, it would mean that the king is gracious enough to give subhuman degenerates positions of responsibility. He is entrusting them with the peace of the realm, trying to raise them above what they actually are, to be productive members of society instead of and raiders and rapers, like most of their orc kind. And he gestures towards Otti when he says that.
I just stare back.
But I believe we digress. I believe this meeting has gone on far too long. I've made my case. I have hopefully convinced all of you that and that anything that you were possibly thinking of believing in their words has been struck. The king asks for the continued allegiance of Windward. What say you? Lady Fisero stands up. She looks towards Niccolo and then towards the party. Lady Fisero and her delegates must debate further in private. She sits back down. Lord Taliesin stands up and says, "My delegations and I must debate further in private." Lord Camber stands up. "My people, my associates and I must debate this in privacy before a true decision is made towards the capital." He sits back down. Niccolo seems disgruntled by this and he says, "That is not an acceptable answer. Your king desires unification immediately. If you do not display your patriotism now, then I'm afraid measures must be taken to ensure the allegiance of Meltokian."
I'd like to stand up at this point. Lords and ladies, you have two options here. You have listened to us. No one can tell you whether we are speaking the truth but yourselves. You have to make that judgment for yourself. But this man here, he is one of two things. He's either an insignificant pawn who knows nothing of the matters of those who are in charge of him, or he is complicit in the vile and evil demon-summoning acts that his king and those who follow him are committing right now, up in Varod. We have seen with our own eyes, that we have fought with our own weapons. They are scared of you. They cannot beat you. If you submit to them now, you are only condemning yourselves. And I'll sit back down.
I'll stand up and I'll say the only reason that they send this man in with his lies, with his attempt to discredit us, is their fear. They know how much of a threat we can be to the capital if we have support from those around us. It is within their best interest to disband us, to seed doubts, to cause lack of faith in everyone. But yeah, we need to stand our ground, and we need to not give in to the pressures, the unfair, unjust pressures given by the capital.
Capital would continue to see you bled dry by regular and increasing tributes. They would stifle your growth and see you suppressed, like the half-elves within their very own quarters. They do not wish to see you flourish. Instead, they wish to see you bend the knee and remain complicit to the crimes they commit.
Lords and ladies of the chamber, I implore you, if you have any doubt whatsoever that this man and the kingdom would attempt ever to raise the demon lord Argoneth, then stand with us. Stand on the right side of history to prevent this disaster.
And do know that we would choose to stand with you. All the support we have rallied so far would be yours just as well as yours ours.
What does Sawam's face look like right now?
He looks like he wants to punch the fuck out of Niccolo.
Mood.
Mm-hmm.
And as a side note, Piccolo, whatever, like, can I say it's just a bitch ass move to come in at the end of a meeting and then prove your, like, say your point and then expect everyone to follow you? Like, really rude and far from, like, noble decorum. Just throwing that out there.
I am representative of the king. He takes matters over all priorities, including any silly customs Meltokian has.
You see how this
forgive
man
me for
treats
respecting
you
the
and your citizens.
customs of this city.
The customs of the city are allowed to remain because of the grace of His Majesty. Let that not be forgotten, that it was conceded to you when
The customs of
Meltokia
this
became
city are
part of
allowed
the
to remain because you couldn't dominate them. Because Meltokia is stronger than you. And you know this. You are fully aware of this. Don't try and say it through any sort of goodwill of the Majesty. It's not. It's because you know that you cannot conquer. And you never, ever will.
Clearly, you don't know your history, girl. The city was conquered.
Can I do a history check?
It's very public knowledge.
Not fully conquered, though, because
Like,
they
it
still
was-
have...
Yeah, it was conquered, but they resisted enough to the point where they were like, all right, well, we let you keep your customs, just fucking our shit up.
That's
And
not
also-
a full
Yeah.
conquering, though.
Is this the future you want, though, Meltokio? To only have your traditions at the grace of some pompous prick sat on a chair miles away from here? This city deserves to be free, and it will be free again.
You have seen what the capital is capable of when left in its own hands without intervention. The events of the last few years have what's been going on when King Turiel and his, I'll gesture to Niccolo Fiolo, his loyal, what's the word? Workers? This is what they're capable of. They won't do any better. Things are only going to get worse from here if we do not intervene. Again, I implore you, stand with us and do not leave the capital to its own devices.
If you really trust us, trust yourselves to be the good that we can be. We trust your judgment.
Fine speeches from liars and traitors. I can see that your minds are racked with doubt and worry, wondering whether or not you are going to do the right thing, or make the right decision. Maybe there is a little bit of information about people that you are aware of. Something yet I can see. Something that has something to do with their blood. Not something they want known as public knowledge, for good reason, for they know it will turn everyone against them. What it means. I didn't want to have to shame them like this, but they are in fact the grandchildren of the Suam just steps forward and just punches the shit out of him on the ground. Keep on speaking. You can see Niccolo. His jaw is like completely broken, and he's like.
What are his little knight bodyguards doing in reaction to that?
They draw their weapons.
I will be in between them and Suam.
They are looking like they don't give a damn, but then they stop with fear. And that presence that Suam has basically prevented them from going any further.
I'm facing the knight, so I just see me jump in front of them and them look scared, and I'm
basically
happy with that.
Take your diplomat and get out of the city, regardless of whatever. Mr. Fiona, go tell your king that the August monks marches against him. He steps up, waddles over towards the knights who shield him. They point their swords at anybody looking at them funny, and they march him out of there.
And as he leaves, I shout over, "Did anyone tell you look like Dracula?"
As he leaves, the speaker looks at you, Suam, looks at Suam and says, "You have violated the rules of this chamber. Please leave." As you wish, speaker. And Suam leaves the chamber. Speaker turns towards the three lords and says, "The floor is yours for whatever rules and customs still remain after this incident." Lord Talasan looks at the other two, and then he looks at all of you and says, "We have heard a lot today. I promise you, on my honor, that we will give your words full and complete consideration. We will not make a decision today, but we will make a decision very soon. This is an action in history that will require some very, very careful consideration."
The good news is, lords and ladies, if you make the wrong decision, history won't really exist, because nor will the world.
Let me tell you something, Taunter of Fate. I think everyone in this room listened to you more than they listened to him.
I nod politely, bow politely.
The speaker stands up and says, "Then this meeting is adjourned. Thank you for adhering to the customs and traditions. May the sun rise ever higher. May Meltokian shine brighter." And all lords repeat the same.
Sensing that's the close, I'd like to dash outside and try and see if I can either see Suam or the knights and to make sure that nothing's going on.
You dash outside. You find Suam, back and forth out there. There is a trail of puddled blood, like dripping blood, that leads away from this chamber down the corridor, and indicated that's where Niccolo went.
As long as they're not fighting, that's all I was worried about.
I just want to bow to the lords and ladies and be like, if you have any questions, you know where to find us. We'll be eager to answer anything.
Lady Faseru says, "Well, if I have any questions, I'll invite you to the baths."
I'd be thrilled to go there again.
Can't be as bad as last time.
Shut up, Rennas.
He's not in the room. Don't worry about it.
I was going to say, the
That-
last thing
that was
she wants
Rich,
to
not
know is
Rennas,
that
it's fine.
assassins were in there.
She'd be a bit pretty crap owner if she hadn't heard that by now.
I mean,
Yeah, but
the
we don't
owner
want it to-
kept it
It's
very
not, it's
strong.
not as if she's going to admit it in the middle of.
I know, and she doesn't want us admitting it for her, so
That was very much Rich speaking, not Rennas. I apologise.
So
yeah.
the councillors begin to pour out, as do you guys. Back up with Swan outside. He's breathing quite heavily, and then just. I shouldn't have done that. I should have been more diplomatic. But
He was a dick.
He was
Diplomatic, schmiplomatic. That guy was a douche.
Hmm.
You could admittedly have been more diplomatic, but you intervened at the last possible moment. The moment that could have
The
actually discredited us.
world is not ready to know yet.
Like, to be fair, it's better that you did it than one of us.
I assure you, we all greatly appreciate your gesture and, well, your actions, and I know that with your reputation, with your history, everyone in that chamber will know that you must have acted like that for a reason, and in time they will understand and forgive you.
I wonder that. Wonder that indeed. Well, my impressions of that meeting, I think it went very well.
Certainly didn't.
I
he turned up.
agree.
I think it went the best possible way it could have went. You just have to wait for them to make a decision. But regardless of whatever they say, monks are on your side. I am on your side.
Can I just ask, I'm assuming the lords and councillors are well protected. I do not trust Edgar's knights in this town, not when such important decisions need to be made.
Edgar does well. The knights do not really have a presence in Meltokian. It's sort of a violation of the treaty. Unless, of course, they were escorted delegation from the king.
Yes, but I would not put it past them to use the bodyguards of the delegation for other purposes while they were here.
I'll ask River to send a few of her students out just to keep it the
That
councillors.
would be very much appreciated.
Well, I think this is cause for a celebration. Has anybody heard of an establishment known as Jackalopes, Elopes, and Pokes?
Yeah.
Most
yeah,
certainly
no.
have.
I have never been there.
Well, it's certainly interesting.
I heard that several of my younger monks like to go there to forget about the woes of the days.
I cringe at the thought of a relative of mine going to a brothel.
There are
It's
other
not
places
just
that
a
you.
brothel.
It's a gambling den, basically. But there are other
Well,
places that you think of. You get the feeling someone's just naive as to.
I'd like to, hopefully having heard of Otti's breakfast with Suam, I'd like to ask Suam innocently, will there be chicken though?
I hope so. I like chicken.
As do I.
Well, we can go. I mean, that's the only place I'm aware of. No, any place else? Maybe a restaurant, a tavern, something to unwind.
Where was
Actually, I'm a
you-
very good cook. It'd be my honour to cook for every single person
How
here
about
within
the
the
American
party.
peanut instead?
Oh,
Was the peanut the one with the table where we put the little thing up when we wanted more drinks?
yeah.
It's just the peanut.
Very good. Well, then, lead the way.
I'd hate to see what Korgrin would do some chicken after what he did to everything else he's tried to cook.
So, making your way across the city, it's still actually. You head over towards the abandoned pit. Walking inside, it's not as busy. There are a number of sitting areas. And the entire area, what little bustle there is in there, a lot of owners and such, everything comes screeching to a halt. As after all of you file, then Suwan Pati steps in with his rock hard abs, his long flowing black hair, just sort of standing there meekly, a little kind of just taking it all in, really. Like he's never been to this place.
Do you guys have a no service kind of thing going on? Is that why you're staring at him? He's always like that. It's fine.
I edge over to Otti and whisper, Otti, I think your granddad's a gilf.
Oh God!
I welcome, most esteemed Grand Master, to our establishment. Please sit anywhere you'd like.
I hate you, Georgia.
Where would you recommend? Right over here. This table here gets golden peanut the most. It's the owner, the elf lady, bustles you over to just a smaller little table, quite indistinct, but enough to see all of you most around it. And she says, what would you like to order? Oh, and don't worry about paying. This one's on the house.
Just beer for me is fine. Thank you.
Yeah, ale, beer, mead, don't mind.
Very good, very good, very good. And she bustles away, and whereas usually it's just one person to a table, at the detriment of the other guests, you've got 3 people to wait on you. Basically, they give it to you, they step, wait there to be again. Suwan's reputation clearly carries it himself.
Hey, can you do me a favor? I'll get out 2 gold pieces. Why didn't you get a drink for everyone else in here too?
Of course, of course. And they
give her the 2 gold pieces. I'll
she
take it
takes
from
that. The other patrons bow very respectfully towards Suwan and towards you, Arab.
I just felt bad. If I pay for them to have drinks, then they're gonna get service.
Suwan is sitting cross-legged at as he has a little bowl of milk, to be honest. Sips it a bit and just goes, This is why I don't really go out much.
I get the feeling if you went out more, they probably wouldn't be like this as much.
I haven't got around to doing that.
You're making us start now.
I have reason to start now. He gestures towards Otti.
But you should also do it for yourself.
You do know we're not staying here, right?
I know. Doesn't mean I can't enjoy the time I have.
Behan sought to use the knowledge of Otti against you to take your position. Would your position be threatened if people knew the truth?
The truth that she is my granddaughter?
Yes.
No, it wouldn't. Vihan never knew, nobody ever knew because, well, frankly, it was a private, painful memory. And one that I regret dearly. But now I have another chance. And I don't care who knows. Otti is my granddaughter. So if any of you ever mistreat her, I'm going to beat the ever-living daylights out of all of you, and you know I can.
Mistreat her? She's locked me up dozens of times.
You probably deserved it.
We absolutely
We're,
did
we're
deserve it.
just quibbling over details now, Swan.
And you can see he's like laughing, and he is genuinely happy. Like the man you met about a week or so ago, is gone, and now he's just replaced with somebody who he probably even didn't think was alive anymore. And he's just a changed man now. So drinks are poured, merriment's ahead, and you guys spend the afternoon relaxing with Swan Patty. Is there anything you guys would like to roleplay?
I just want a drink. It's been a long day. I had to be formal and polite, and it was horrible.
You didn't threaten anyone. I'm very proud of you.
Yay!
I was going to say, you were actually really good today, Rennas. Very proud.
Rennas' really good days are just when he doesn't murder someone that pissed him off.
But the bar is really low, mate. It's like we're really trying. It's not even off the floor.
You didn't call anyone a moron. That's great.
Didn't call them cowards.
Didn't steal their jewelry.
That too.
Yeah. So at the moment, Verity's probably just like anxious braiding everyone else's hair because she doesn't have much hair herself. Hello, boy, go away. So she's just
I've
anxious
had
braiding
no
everyone
one
else's.
to braid my hair for ages. I need someone to braid the hair. It's in my
Yeah.
face.
Like just moving on from like Otti to Korgrin, like whoever's hair is long enough for me to get hold of.
I mean, to be fair, I think the person with the longest hair is probably Swan.
Ooh.
Dreadlocks, queen.
Do it. Here's a gilf.
I mean, look at these nipples. Flick could cut this table in half.
No, he's still a MILF, but like Monk I'd like to fuck.
You can have inspiration for that, Fiona. Well done. I like that.
Or master, you know.
Hey.
Well, I'm definitely going to go for a pee break now.
Stop talking about my granddaddy like that.
Person puts up resistance. I'm just going to be braiding everyone's hair.
So, doesn't resist, but he certainly has that look of like, kids, what are you gonna do, sort of thing.
Korgrin is fully braided, beard and hair, and he's just, you get used to it.
I wonder
the fact
about
it's
it.
been 6 months, I wonder how long everyone's hair is, because I think most of us have had it cut once by Bella, but other than that...
Gus is in a coma now. What are we going to do?
Well, I assumed that if you wanted to maintain your journey like out in the wilderness and you travel, trim things, you know.
That's probably how Arri does her hair, to be honest. It's probably how she's done it since she was old enough to wield a dagger.
I was
I
gonna
just
say,
tell you to stand up
literally,
against a tree and I just throw daggers at you.
that's your new haircut. I'm missing an ear. That's your new haircut.
Sudden inspiration to paint.
Yeah, I think everyone's probably just too anxious to know about like what the council will come back with.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know them better than us, Swarm. Do you think they will see reason?
I think so. I know it's a lot
What?
to ask.
Do you think they like me?
I think everyone liked you.
You did a fantastic job with Lady Viseru. I don't think we would have swayed her without you.
Whoever's hair I'm braiding right now, I just kind of like bury my face into it, like shy, like. Hold on.
Probably Suarms.
Feel we need to be
Oh,
careful
no.
of this person
I mean-
she recommends to be by the king's
It'll be
side.
Korgrin's!
Well.
Just like burying myself into the back of Korgrin's head, like, process making me shy.
Well, over the course of the afternoon, eventually word is sent because where Suam is in the city, it very, very, very quickly draws a crowd that doesn't come inside. They just stare in and gawking from the windows.
Those fucking abs, I know, right? I could grate cheese on those fucking things.
I can't believe I came back and then you started off again.
You reckon when he walks his ass claps? Cause
Stop it!
damn, that boy's fucking sick. It's a good thing he's not in charge of the stealth fucking monks.
Well, eventually, word is to you guys in the form of a message. From the council, they state that whilst they have not made a decision today, they will be doing so over the course of the next 2 days, but it looks extremely favourable towards you. Whilst many of the lords were intimidated by the show of force from Niccolo, the fact that Lady Fiseru, Lord Talasan, and Lord Camber were not intimidated by him and were in fact on your side. And now it just seems they're in the process of convincing the other lords and ladies to join them in that regard, which could take a couple of days.
So are they all in the council chamber still having these conversations?
They're basically debating with their own little circles, shall we
Anyone
say.
fancy setting up a little stag sentry thing outside there? Rotating shifts throughout the night? I really don't trust these bastards.
Swarm will take care of that.
We should leave.
Anything too much of a presence from ourselves might have the opposite effect, like we're trying to control the decision. I understand where you're coming from, but I think we do just kind of need to let the powers that be influence it in the way that they can, such as Suam, and just let it happen. We've got the important names on our side. We've got the heads of
Roger.
parties, for lack of a better way of saying it. We've done what we can.
Even if this does end up going south, or not the way we would have preferred, there's still a way forward. We gave it our best shot. We did well. We had unfortunate circumstances, but what happens happens, and we'll be okay regardless.
Swarm says to you guys, I think everything will be okay. Regardless, you've got me on your side. What's the worst that could happen?
You could punch us.
Really hard.
I'd never punch you guys again.
To be fair,
Unless you heard Otti.
I am pretty sure I'd rather go into battle with Suam at my side than the entire army of all three of those lords against Suam. So, yeah, I can see your point.
So, with the knowledge and the hope that within the next few days, Meltokian will join your rebellion on your side. Swarm invites you to stay a couple more days, waiting for their verdict. We're moving on. And with that, before officially it's been announced, in those few days, you come to know that those lords and ladies are very, very much getting on side of the three main lords. And it does appear that Meltokian will be joining in the rebellion against the king. You successfully convinced them to fight. And now you're just waiting for the official proclamation from the council to announce their rebellion against the kingdom. And with that, for successfully convincing the Meltokian territories to join you in your growing army against the king, you have all leveled up.
Yes! It's been so long.
I was just saying that it's been ages since we leveled up. That's awesome.
I think we just had loads in succession in the capital.
Yeah,
It
that
just
is
felt
fair.
like forever.
Oh, what are we now?
15?
15. Nice.
In those 2 days, Russ and Verity, you get a request to visit Vihan in the jail from Vihan. Do you accept?
I think I'd probably discuss with Verity, but I'd be tempted to accept, yes.
I want to try and talk him round. I doubt we'll be able to, but I want to try.
I'd happily go with you if you wanted some company.
He's requested only Verity and Russ.
He's a criminal. He doesn't get to make requests.
He can
But
decide
that's
whether or
fine,
not he
okay.
wants to talk. So, it's up to you. Russ, Verity, do you want to discuss this?
I mean, I'd probably discuss with Verity, like,
Mm.
what good and bad could come from it. I think maybe I don't know why it would be just the two of us, but I would think that maybe if Otti is out of the way at least, that Vihan might be less bitter or at least less kind of biased against us, and maybe he would have useful information of some kind. Or explanations about something. And as long as we don't give too much away, or let him manipulate us or anything like that, that it should be okay.
I don't think we'd have to get anything away. He probably wants to talk to us because, well, you trained under him, didn't you?
Yeah.
And I've constantly been trying to talk to him because I'm an idiot like that.
I
Can't hurt to at least
I
listen
think
to him. Sorry.
Yeah, I think we should go, but remain vigilant.
Not a bad plan, Stan.
Okay. So, on the second day, when the invite arrived, you guys, Russ and Verity, head towards the bowels of the monastery. Towards where the jails are. This area of the monastery is not used. Pretty much like never used. Because everyone in the monastery respects the rules. However, now it's seeing action, basically. Now it's seeing people are using it now. The dust has been cleared away. When you cross over the threshold from the corridors into the actual stone and jails, you can see multiple doors, bars on them, like some steps up, like in corners of the. It's not like a long corridor, it's a square with multiple doors in them. There are 4 monks down here that seem to be keeping guard over Vihan. And you can see Vahan himself in one of the further cells at the back. You can't see his face properly, but you can see like parts of it and his body just from the flickering firelight just outside his particular door. Thank you for answering my summonings. Students may leave. The other monks look at each other. They nod and they leave the room.
I mean, he's locked up, right?
Yeah. He's
Okay.
not restrained or bound. He's just inside a cage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have asked you two to come here specifically because I wish to talk to you. I wish to try and convince you what I know in my heart. I believe you two are the best people to talk to. Ross, I know you. I trained you. You fought. You fought for a great many things, and now you fight for yourself. Now you go on to fight for something. You are not the type of person I believe to be ruled by emotion and bad decision making. I believe you think about things before you carry them out. I would like to extend an offer of friendship and peace between us. I wish for you to join me. Help me realize my destiny. And I promise the monastery will assist you in your war.
Realize your destiny in what way?
I am supposed to be the Grand Master. I am younger. I will last longer than Su. I will make sure your monks will fight for you. When Suam dies and River on Mountain takes over, that girl cannot tell the difference between a teacup and a well-placed poisoned dart. She does not understand the finer things. Too inexperienced to lead these monks. Your cause will be
Vihan,
lost.
you know that I had great respect for you, and that we had a certain relationship that maybe few would understand, but when you tried to assassinate a member of my party, I have to admit my confidence in you and my faith in your potential position as Grandmaster swayed me. I'm not sure I see you in the same light anymore.
I'm sorry you feel that way.
I don't want to be on bad terms by any means, but
Oh,
I cannot promise you.
I respect and honor you. It is one of your finer qualities. You have made your decision, and you will stand by it to the end. I respect that more than you know. But you, Verity, you wish peace, unity. You do not wish conflict, neither do I. I would like to ask you to join me and help me become Grandmaster.
You know in your heart that that is the best course of action.
I know in my heart, Vihan, that I tried everything I could to open communications with you, to talk, and settle all of this peacefully. Yet
Yes,
you are the one who cut us out and resorted to violence against my party member. How can I trust your judgment as a Grand Master if you are willing to do that against me who you say you trust so dearly?
because I believed I had no other to get rid of her. I did
Well,
not
there's your
want-
answer then.
I did not want what happened to my father to happen. If you can promise me that I will be Grand Master, I will make no more attempts for his life.
It is not me you need to talk to. You know who you must apologize to and what you need to do to amend this.
He will never accept my apology. You know
Have you
what
tried?
he's like. He is governed by his
I'm not even talking about
emotions.
him, you fool.
I have not tried to apologize because I see it to be a fruitless and pointless activity.
Well, there's your answer for you again. Instead of trying to reach out and use communication, you think violence is the only answer to these things? You have no choice but to use violence? You honestly don't know what I'm trying to do here. Trying to communicate. You shut out people who you think won't listen, and then you resort to sneaky tactics to get rid of them. I'm sorry, Evazan. I really tried to understand you and I really tried to get through to you, but I don't think it's possible at this point if you aren't going to try and do something, even if you think it's hard. That's all I can really say. I'm sorry.
Swarm was my friend. And yet he threw me in without a moment's notice. 30 years he just threw away because of somebody he just met. Do you really want somebody as emotionally
And
unstable as that as your Grandmaster?
and I think you would have noticed that he came to talk to you first.
He came to kill me. You stopped him. He listened to you. I am listening to you.
Then you already know my opinion. If you're really listening, it's not me you need to apologize to. It's not Suam. You know who you need to apologize to.
Verity. It is not about apologizing. It is about doing what's right. What is right is you must win your war, and you cannot do it with Swarm.
I'd rather try doing it with him than someone who is unable to try and mend bridges he has burnt.
I want you to remember this moment. This is the moment I gave both of you a choice. And he slinks away into the shadows. And that's where we'll end tonight's session, guys.